We got a lot to talk about today because I'm going to be reviewing a book that there's so much that I don't agree with in this, and there's so much that positively changed my life at the same time. If you're enjoying these book reviews and my travel content, please like and subscribe to my page because it really helps me build a virtual community. Being on the road is really lonely, and having this kind of community that I can connect with helps me in so many ways. And I know it helps a lot of others that may not be in a physical queer community, or those that may not have access to it, or maybe there isn't a one around that really caters to their niche interests. So if you like books and traveling and me babbling about a bunch of queer shit, please like and subscribe. Okay, so getting into this book that I love and hate. This book really gets into bisexuality. Like, it comes from a foundational area at first, and then kind of delves into more niche areas and intersectional areas like being trans and bisexual, things like of that nature. What I can highlight in this as probably the most positive thing that I took so much from it was that the first chapter is defining bisexuality. What is bisexuality is what the chapter is called. And that really helped me to understand my own sexuality. Am I bisexual? Am I pansexual? Am I queer? I don't know. The thing is, I do know. I just don't like labels. I'm really not into the labels. I really love queer as an umbrella term. That term makes me really happy. I much prefer to be referred to as that. But honestly, a lot of people refer to me as bisexual or pansexual, and I'm cool with that too. Just don't call me straight. Call me anything you want, just don't call me straight. But the last few years, I've really started to understand bisexuality within myself. And a lot of it is honestly, it's thanks to this book. Author Shiri Eisner does an incredible job at defining bisexuality and what it means. And I think there's so much stigma around it, and there has been, and there's been a lot of discrimination within the queer community and outside of it, that it was really important to immediately define what it is, what it isn't, how it is fluid, much like anything else in the world, and especially gender and sexuality. I want to take a look inside because she does a really good job, almost in a list form, of what it means to be bisexual or what bisexuality is. Here is Shiri's definition of bisexuality, and I want to know if you agree or disagree with it. They write, I have in myself the potential to be attracted romantically and or sexually to people of more than one sex and or gender, not necessarily at the same time, not necessarily in the same way, and not necessarily in the same degree. I think that covers a lot. What it's basically saying that bisexuality is flexible. It is not being attracted to a man and a woman. It is being attracted to any gender expression, and the two that people want to argue all the time, bi means two, so there's only attraction to two genders, is no. They're saying bi is referring to being attracted to people of your own gender and people of a different gender. And I much prefer that definition because that's more of the truth. There's the argument that bisexuality discriminates against trans people or non-binary people, but with this definition, it includes everybody. It includes anybody that expresses their gender in the same way as you, and anybody that expresses their gender or non-gender differently than you. Now is the perfect opportunity to explain the definition of gender. Sorry if this sounds educational and to a college class. I am in college for queer studies actually right now. I've learned so much from it, and I need to share some of that with you guys because I don't really have anybody to talk to about it. The definition of gender. Gender is an internal thing. It is not something that you can see on someone physically. That's sex. There's a difference between sex and gender. Sex is more of a physical thing, and it doesn't just rely on genitalia. It relies on multiple factors, like chromosomes, genitalia, and a couple other things that I'm drawing a blank on right now. And gender, on the other hand, refers to what society deems as masculine and feminine. So gender is a strictly cultural thing because gender changes from each culture. Two males holding hands in American culture is considered a more feminine thing. That's considered to be queer. Whereas in other cultures, two men holding hands, they could both be straight men, and it's not, nobody bats an eye. Like, it's not considered feminism, it's actually considered very masculine. By definition, gender, you can't see someone's gender on the outside. You can't know their gender. They might express a certain way that's, so I guess traditional would be the right word, traditionally masculine features, or traditionally feminine features, but only an individual can define their gender. That's such a personal thing. So you can't know someone's gender unless you ask them. That's really important for what we're talking about here, because bisexuality can be attracted to any gender that's the opposite of one's own, and also the same as one's own. Or the same person can be attracted to all of those gender expressions, but it doesn't have to always be at the same time. You can go through periods where you're only attracted to a feminine gender expression, and other times you could be going through a period where you're only attracted to masculine gender expressions. Am I talking too fast? Like, I'm just really excited right now. I have all this information, and I don't have anybody really to talk to. So this is cool. These videos are as much for me as they are for other people. Like, I really just enjoy doing this. But anyways, Shiri goes on to talk about misconceptions about bisexuality. And I really like this part because she kind of gives an answer to them. She, kind of debunks the stigma around bisexuality. And here's just a couple things. A lot of people think that bisexuality simply doesn't exist, or it's believed that it's just a transition into queerness from straight people, which, that could be a thing. It's an easier step to transition rather to go from saying, oh yeah, I'm queer, and then, oh yeah, I'm completely gay or something. So yeah, that does happen, but it's not every person. It isn't always a transition. It is, people are actually bisexual, and it does exist. Bisexuals are confused, indecisive, or just going through a phase. That kind of ties into the same thing. Going through the phase, like, that's wild to me. Maybe some people are, and I think it does happen, but to apply that to every bisexual or every person that identifies as bisexual is completely wrong. What else? Okay, this is great. Bisexuals are slutty, promiscuous, and inherently unfaithful. Again, just no. Putting that as a blanket for everybody is very harmful. Are there bisexual people out there? Yeah, there really, really is. But it's not all of them. And not being able to decide is not a thing either, because bisexuals have decided that they are bisexual. Bisexuals can choose to be gay or straight. This was an interesting topic. Again, not true, just a stereotype, but I've had issues with this myself. I know I'm doing a book review, but to be completely vulnerable here, it took me a while to accept liking more than one gender, because I felt really guilty. I felt like if I was dating a female, I was kind of hiding. There is a lot of privilege that comes with being in a straight presenting relationship. If I'm holding hands with a female down the street versus holding hands with a person of the same gender down the street, it's completely different reactions from people around us. In fact, there are no reactions from people around us when I'm holding hands with a female. But when I'm holding hands with a male, I'm open to being discriminated against. People shout things, people throw things. It's been a while since that's happened, but it used to happen quite a bit. Maybe in the area that I grew up, I'm not sure. That was a thing. So dating females, I was kind of hesitant about, because I felt a little guilty. Now, not so much. I'm still learning about that. And this book actually really, really helped. I kind of go into more about that in my exclusive video on Patreon. I have a monthly video that goes up where I talk about a little bit more personal things, a little more in depth, and there's just less editing. It's just kind of like a raw sit down with you guys and having like a conversation. Here, I'll stick with the book a little bit more. Now on to things that I don't really like about this book. The book further goes into like intersectionality of bisexual and like other identities like trans and economic status, as I mentioned before, which is a good thing, great thing actually. It's really important to learn about the intersectionality within the community. But what I don't like is this book tries so hard not to offend anyone. And I'm sure a lot of you will think, well, that's a good thing, because we should be very conscious of the things that we're saying and try not to offend people. But the thing is, in trying to please everyone, like, you're gonna lose a lot more value in what you're talking about. Whereas, like me, I like to just talk straightforward, like this, I like this, I don't like this, sometimes I like this, sometimes I don't like that. And then we can have a conversation about it, because there's plenty of people that are not gonna agree and plenty of people that will agree. It also, I don't know where it gets its information from. It cites some sources in here, but some of those sources are like blog posts and stuff on X, and I'm like, those aren't credible sources. Those are someone's opinion, so like we can't really take that as fact. This book kind of blurs the line between this is factual information and this is stuff that the author believes. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great to have both. I love books that it's just pure opinion, and I love books that are just pure fact. But to kind of like blur that line makes it a little difficult, because I'm like, are these actual like societal definitions, things like that, are these from scholarly sources, or are we just saying this is how I feel? Both are great. It's just I like to know the difference between the two. I also want to mention another part in here where the author goes on to say that there's an interesting dynamic of how when females say that they're bisexual, people assume that they're straight. They think that they're just dating opposite gender people. And when males or say that they're bisexual, people see them as being completely gay. That really goes to show how egotistical our society is, and how it's a patriarchal society. That's right there, just shows that, is that everybody just assumes you're attracted to men. And as we all know, that's not always the case, because men can be awful. I don't know how many minutes I'm at on this video, but I could keep going on forever, because there's a lot of information in this. One of the best things about when I read, or worse, depends on how you want to look at it, is that I typically finish the book whether I like it or not. 3 chapters into this, maybe a little bit more, maybe closer to halfway, I started realizing there's a lot of information that I don't agree with in this. But I kept reading because it's important to still learn a lot of that information, and it's important to learn why I don't agree with that information. And now I'm kind of expressing it in this video. You might not like all of a book, especially a nonfiction book, but there are elements in it that you might find incredible. Like, this was life-changing for me for like just a handful of elements, and then the rest I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't really like that. So it was still very important for me to read this. This book is absolutely good for anyone that is questioning their sexuality, that they might be bisexual, or if they want to rule out that they aren't bisexual. This is also a good book for that, especially since there's not a whole lot of bisexual books out there, at least that I've come across. Like, there's just not a lot of bisexual focus out there, or it's just thrown in there. Like, if it's a fiction book, it's just kind of thrown in there just to have a queer element and just to show that it's inclusive. I would love if anybody left some book recommendations on bisexuality, nonfiction, fiction, really graphic novel, like anything is good. I read a ton of books, as you all know. I would love to read more about bisexuality, because I think I've only read a few of them, and I can't even think off the top of my head which ones they are. The next book that I want to go over is Our Gay History in 50 States. Now, this is completely different than any book that I've reviewed before, and it's probably going to be the only one of its kind, because is it a textbook? I don't know how to define a textbook, but it might be a textbook, but a gay textbook, which is amazing. We love gay textbooks, if there are any. Yeah, so actually, let me show the inside of it, because it's a fucking beautiful book. Let me struggle here. So yeah, I think, is that a textbook? That might be a textbook. It was put together by Zaylore Stout. I think that's how you pronounce their name, and I'm not sure their pronouns, so I will try to use gender-neutral pronouns. Let me see here. Nope, he, him. Okay, so Zaylore Stout put this together, and it's an incredible book, because it's for anyone, and it's just about gay history in each state. And you'd be surprised how much gay history is in each state. I was so happy to come across this book after I started my travels, because it's pretty much what I'm doing, but in a more formal educational manner. Every few pages is dedicated to a specific state in the United States. It talks about the gay history in that in like very organized sections. For example, like state of Massachusetts, it has a section for queer people in there, queer facts about the state, queer places, and it's so beautiful and simple. Really, it's something that should be in classrooms, especially I think maybe even elementary school, middle school for sure, but like possibly elementary school, because it's so simple. And I think the author was trying to do that for a while. There was a campaign to try to get these books into schools because it's just informative material about the queer community. This book would do so well in schools, especially since there's a lot of queer history that's not taught, if any. You know, I'm not really sure about high school and higher grades like that, but this is something so foundational that it should be in every school. And there's so many beautiful colors and pictures in it that it makes it like super easy to read or to go through. Like, you know, you could flip through that as a kid and just have a good time seeing all these people and places and facts in each state. And the cool part is, you know, you see your state in there, you want to learn more about it, and you're like, oh, I didn't know these people were from this state, and you don't realize all these things that are queer things that are from these states. Being from California, mine is, you know, not that exciting because it's pretty liberal and pretty much things that I would have guessed already. But like under Pennsylvania, for example, you have the people that are from there, queer people that are from there, like Bayard Rustin, Andy Warhol, Ethel Waters, Edith Windsor. It's so cool to see how many queer people are from your state, how many queer people, events, and places are in your state, especially as a younger audience. Like I said, if you're in high school, middle school, or elementary school, this would be an excellent textbook to have in your class. Just look at this book. Just look at this book. I can't, like, look how beautiful that is. I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera with that fat glare on there, but look, there's Leslie Jordan in there and just a bunch of facts about the state. This book is really heavy. It's probably a good thing. Full of good information. Anyways, that was Tennessee that Leslie Jordan was from. Miley Cyrus is also in here too. Apparently it's saying she's a pansexual singer and actress, best known for a role as a character of Hannah Montana. Of course. We love Miley Cyrus. Didn't know she was pansexual. Just learning things. Just learning things. Learning good queer things. Not to brag, but my version is signed by the author or curator of the book. So that's super cool. I'm happy about that. I loved signed books, and this might be my first one. But overall, I love this book. I've got nothing bad to say about it. The only way that we are going to be able to combat the fascism and the conservatism and the book bans and all the discrimination against queer people is through education. That is how we are going to get through everything we need to get through. This is the kind of book that we need in schools, that we need people to check out and read. We need queer studies to be taught in colleges. We need the queer history to be taught in the lower level grades. We need that kind of education. That is the only way that is going to change things. How do I know that? Because historically, that is what happens. If you open a book and read a little about history, you're going to see that this was how fascism rose. The things that the Trump administration is doing now is exactly what happened then. And the only way to know that is to be educated. And if we're educated, then we can create the change that we need. God, why is he getting so political over books? Because books are political. Queer culture is political. My existence is political. Queer people being alive is a big you to the system. If today you need a reason to keep going, let that be your reason. Because your existence is punk as Come check out next month's chaotic book reviews on queer works, because this is a really fun time for me, and I hope you guys are enjoying.